In the peaceful town of Umari, there lived a beautiful young girl named Amara. She was only 17 years old, but everyone in the town admired her. Amara had bright, sparkling eyes, the kind of eyes that shined like stars at night. And her smile was so gentle it could melt even the hardest heart. She was the kind of girl who greeted everyone with respect. Each morning, as she walked down the narrow paths of the town, she would bow her head slightly and say, "Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma." Even the old men and women, who were usually grumpy, couldn't help but smile back. People often said, "That girl Amara has a heart as warm as the rising sun." Others would point to their children and say, "Why can't you be more like Amara? Have you ever seen her fight or misbehave? She is a true daughter of this land." Amara lived with her parents in a small mud brick house painted with white chalk. Her mother, whom everyone fondly called Mama Amara, sold food items in the town market. She was a kind and beautiful woman, well known for her gentle spirit. Her father, Chief Nadozi, was one of the respected elders of Umari. He was tall, strong, and proud. His voice was deep and commanding, and when he spoke during meetings, the whole town listened. Chief Nadozi often told people, "Amara is the joy of my old age, my pride, my shining star." But one day, everything changed. Amara, who used to sing every morning as she worked, suddenly grew quiet. She lost her appetite and often complained of being tired. Sometimes, she would rush behind the house in the early mornings to vomit. At first, her mother thought it was fever or malaria. But after watching her daughter closely, she began to suspect something more serious. One evening, under the silver light of the full moon, Mama Amara sat by her daughter's mat and asked softly, "My child, is there something you're hiding from me? Are you sick?" Amara forced a weak smile and said, "It's nothing serious, Mama. Maybe just malaria. Don't worry, I will be fine." But her mother wasn't convinced. The next morning, when Amara vomited again, Mama Amara took her straight to the town healer. After examining her, the healer sighed heavily and called Mama Amara aside. "Your daughter is with child. She is 6 weeks pregnant." Mama Amara's eyes widened in shock. "What? That cannot be true. My daughter, pregnant? Impossible." She almost collapsed, and tears streamed down her face. When they returned home, she sat Amara down and begged her to reveal who was responsible. "Please, my daughter, tell me the truth. Who is the father of this child?" But Amara refused to say a word. Tears fell from her eyes, but her lips stayed sealed. Later that evening, when Chief Nadozi returned from a meeting, Mama Amara told him everything. The moment he heard the news, his anger erupted like fire. He rose so quickly from his seat that his wooden chair fell over. "My daughter, pregnant under my roof, and she cannot even say who did this?" His voice thundered across the compound. "She has brought shame to me, shame to my name." His shouts were so loud that villagers began to gather outside the compound, whispering to one another. By the time Chief Nadozi stormed into the yard, a large crowd had already formed. Everyone's eyes were on Amara, who knelt in the center of the yard, sobbing. Chief Nadozi stood tall, his cane in hand, but he did not strike her. Instead, he declared in a heavy voice, "You were my pride, but now you are my disgrace. If you want to live like a mother, then go and be one outside this house. From today, you are no longer my daughter." Gasps filled the air. Mama Amara fell to her knees, pleading, "Please, my husband, have mercy." She is our only child. Don't send her away. But Chief Nadozi turned away, his face hard as stone. Not even the pleas of his best friend, Mr. Obena, who had just returned from the city, could change his mind. With cold determination, he packed all of Amra's belongings, threw them into the yard, and locked the door of his house against her. Mama Amara wept bitterly as she wrapped a few clothes in a small bundle for her daughter. She slipped a little money into Amra's hand and hugged her tightly. I love you, my child. Please survive. Please stay strong. With tears blinding her eyes, Amara whispered, even if I told you who did this, no one would believe me. She picked up her small bundle and walked away barefoot. The villagers, who once praised her, now muttered insults. I thought she was different. Look at her now. A snake in disguise. Nobody stopped her. Nobody showed her kindness. That night, Amara walked until she reached a strange town where nobody knew her. Hungry and tired, she sat outside a closed stall, ate the little food her mother had given her, and fell asleep under the cold night sky. By morning, a woman known as Mama Ifeoma found her. She was kind and soft-spoken. You look lost, my dear. Come with me. I will take care of you, the woman said. At first, Amara hesitated, but Mama Ifeoma insisted. I had children once. Let me care for you. For the first time since leaving home, Amara felt safe. Mama Ifeoma gave her food, clothes, and shelter. She even rubbed Amra's feet at night and treated her like her own daughter. Slowly, Amara began to smile again. Months later, during a heavy rainstorm, Amara went into labor. With Mama Ifeoma by her side, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Chisom, which meant God is with me. Holding her baby close, Amara whispered, You are my joy. But peace did not last. One night, Amara woke to hear whispers in the next room. She pressed her ear against the wooden door and froze when she heard Mama Ifeoma's voice. She is young, abandoned, and no one is looking for her. The baby is healthy. You can take her tomorrow night. A man's deep voice answered, 500,000 naira. That is my offer. Amra's heart nearly stopped. She peeped through a crack and saw Mama Ifeoma bargaining with a wealthy man. They were planning to sell her baby. Her legs trembled. Her chest tightened. She rushed back to hold Chisom, tears running down her face. No one will take you from me, she whispered again and again. Before dawn, she gathered her few belongings, wrapped Chisom tightly to her chest, and fled into the night. She wandered into another town, hungry and exhausted, begging for food and water. People ignored her, but then a man named Michael, well-dressed and polite, stopped her on the roadside. You're too young to suffer like this. Come with me. I will give you a safe place to stay. Amra's heart hesitated. She remembered Mama Ifeoma's betrayal. Could she trust this man? But she was desperate, so she followed him. At first, Michael treated her kindly. He gave her food, clothes, and a place to sleep. For months, he seemed like a savior. But then, his behavior changed. He began to watch her with strange eyes. He lingered outside her door at night. He stared too long whenever she bent down to carry Chisom. One night, when Amara was brushing her hair, she heard her door creak open. Michael walked in with a smile that sent shivers down her spine. And that was when Amara realized her journey was far from over. She had escaped betrayal once, but danger still followed her. Michael stepped closer into the room, his smile strange and heavy. "Why are you still awake, Amara?" he asked softly, his eyes fixed on her in a way that made her skin crawl. Amara tried to stay calm. She looked down at the floor, avoiding his gaze. "I was just brushing my hair," she said in a shaky voice. Michael sat beside her on the bed, his hand moving dangerously close. But just as he leaned toward her, little Chisholm cried in her sleep. Amara quickly stood up, rushed to the baby, and picked her up. The sound of the child's cry filled the small room like thunder. Michael froze, his smile fading. I should let you rest," he muttered and left the room. Amra's heart was pounding. She hugged Chisholm tightly, whispering, "You are my shield, my child. God gave you to me for a reason. We must run again." That night, she barely slept. At dawn, before Michael could wake up, Amara wrapped her few belongings, tied Chisholm to her back with a faded wrapper, and quietly left the house. Her feet were bare, and her body trembled with fear, but her spirit was strong. She walked until she reached a noisy city called Inuguno. Cars honked, people shouted, and the air smelled of dust and roasted corn. Amara had never seen such a busy place before. She sat under a tree by the roadside, exhausted. "God, are you watching me? Am I invisible to the world?" she whispered with tears rolling down her cheeks. For days, she begged for food at the market. Some people gave her bread, others insulted her. But one afternoon, while she sat weak and hopeless by a shop, a young woman noticed her. She was tall, confident, and neatly dressed. Her name was Ngozi. "Why are you sitting here with a baby in this hot sun?" Ngozi asked, her voice full of concern. Amara, too tired to lie, told her story, how her father disowned her, how she fled betrayal, and how she had no place to stay. Ngozi's eyes softened with pity. "Come with me," she said gently. Ngozi was not rich, but she had a small tailoring shop and a kind heart. She took Amara and Chisholm in, gave them food, and allowed Amara to sleep on a mat in her room. Day by day, Amara helped in the shop, sweeping, washing clothes, and learning how to sew. Time passed. 1 year turned into 2. Amara worked hard and became good at tailoring. Ngozi, who had no sister of her own, began to see Amara as family. Soon, Amara started sewing small clothes for children and selling them in the market. People loved her work. Her designs were neat and beautiful. Slowly, she saved money. She even enrolled in evening classes where she learned to read and write better. Chisholm grew too, and the little girl became the joy of the neighborhood. Her laughter rang out like music. Everyone admired her, and people often said she looks just like her grandfather, Chief Nadozi. But Amara only smiled quietly whenever she heard this. Still, Amara carried a secret in her heart, one so heavy it sometimes kept her awake at night. She had never told anyone who the father of her child was. Not her mother, not Ngozi, not even Chisholm herself. Then, one fateful day, everything changed again. Amara was at her sewing shop when a wealthy man stepped out of a black car. He was wearing fine clothes and gold rings on his fingers. The moment Amara saw him, her stomach tightened. It was Chief Nadozi's closest friend, Mr. Obena, the same man who had pleaded for mercy the day her father cast her out. He looked at her in surprise. "Amara, is it really you?" Amara froze. She wanted to hide, but Mr. Obena had already seen her. His eyes shifted to Chisholm, who was playing near the shop. His face grew pale, and his lips trembled. He could not believe what he was seeing. The child's face, it was like looking at a mirror from the past. Chisholm's eyes, nose, and smile, everything looked exactly like Chief Nadozie himself. Mr. Obena's voice shook as he whispered, "Amara, this child. Who is her father?" Amara's heart pounded. For years, she had carried this secret alone. For years, she had swallowed her pain in silence. But now, the truth was ready to burst out. She looked at Mr. Obena with tears in her eyes and said, "You already know. Look at her well. My father, your best friend, Chief Nadozie. He is the one who forced himself on me." The words dropped like heavy stones. Mr. Obena staggered back, his hands on his head. "What, Chief Nadozie, your own father?" Amara nodded slowly, tears running down her cheeks. "That is why I never said anything. Who would have believed me? Who would have believed that the great Chief Nadozie, the man everyone respected, could do such a thing? If I had spoken, they would have called me a liar and killed me with shame." Mr. Obena could not speak. His legs shook. His chest rose and fell like a man who had just run a race. Amara wiped her tears and continued, "For 3 years, I have carried this burden alone. For 3 years, I have raised Chisholm with my own hands. But now, the truth must come out. My father must face what he did to me." And so, with Chisholm by her side, Amara prepared to return to Umari. The journey back home was long and painful. As she walked into the familiar paths of her childhood, villagers stared in shock. The girl they once mocked and called a disgrace was back stronger, more beautiful, and with a child who carried the striking resemblance of Chief Nadozie. When word reached her father, he came out of his compound, proud and stern as always. But the moment his eyes fell on Chisholm, his legs weakened. He staggered, clutching his chest. His face went pale. He knew immediately, without a word being spoken, that the child was his own blood. The villagers gasped, whispering loudly among themselves. Could it be true? Is the great Chief Nadozie the father of Amra's child? Tears filled Mama Amra's eyes as she rushed forward to embrace her daughter and granddaughter. She held them tightly, crying into their shoulders. But Chief Nadozie could not move. His pride had finally shattered. His secret had returned to haunt him in the form of a child. He covered his face with his hands and fell to his knees before the entire village, weeping bitterly. "Forgive me," he cried. "Forgive me, my child. Forgive me." But Amara stood tall, her voice steady. "I carried my shame in silence. But today the truth has spoken for me. You cast me out, but God lifted me up. This is my daughter, your blood, your shame, and my strength." The whole village was silent, their eyes fixed on the fallen elder who once carried himself with pride. And that was how Chief Nadozie, the proudest man in Umari, lived to regret the day he cast out his only daughter. For Amara had returned, not as a broken girl, but as a woman who carried both pain and power in her story. If you've watched up to this stage, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share as we bring you more interesting stories like this. Thanks for watching. See you soon.